अस्सलाम वालेकुम एवरीवन, क्या हाल है आप लोगों के? Just give me 1 minute. Okay, so शुरू करते हैं. Let's pick up from where we left off. So what did we do in the last class? Walaikum assalam. A-level mensuration, but what is A-level mensuration? There is no such thing as A-level mensuration. Okay, mensuration is only tested in O-levels and IGCSE. ठीक है. Please start from scratch. But ऐसा तो possible नहीं है. ठीक है, I can't start from scratch. Because I've already done multiple rounds of mensuration, so maybe you should go check that out. Because आज तो मैंने plan किया था, I'm only going to solve difficult questions. That's what I planned today. Okay, today I'm only going to solve difficult questions. Walaikum assalam. ठीक है, so शुरू करें. In the last stream, I did P1 mensuration in case mensuration comes in paper 1. Okay, in today's stream, what I'll do is I'll solve mensuration questions, but this time I will be focusing more on paper 2 questions. And in fact, if you look at the title, I'm only going to be focusing on the difficult questions. Okay? अच्छा, mensuration बेटा ज़्यादातर P1 में आता है, but having said that, that does not mean that you shouldn't expect this in P1, because if you remember in the last stream, we did mostly P1 questions only. Okay, so that means you can expect it in both paper 1 as well as paper 2. ठीक है, so शुरू करें. I'm going to solve some difficult questions inshallah. So before I start, I would appreciate if you guys like the stream if you haven't done that yet, and also please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that either. And let's begin. So this is a question. So I'll do some O-level questions and I'll do some IGCSE questions, and yes, you guys can download these PDFs. You'll find a link in the description where I've shared these 2 PDFs. ठीक है, एक आपको PDF मिलेगा, ठहरो मैं ज़रा चेक कर लूँ. एक आपको PDF मिलेगा which contains all the O-level mensuration questions compiled, and then you'll find another PDF which contains all the IGCSE mensuration related questions compiled. Okay, now here's a question. Let's see what it says. This question says the cross section of solid A. अच्छा, ये ना एक पिछले क्वेश्चन की कंटिन्यूएशन है, उस क्वेश्चन को भी ज़रा इंक्लूड कर लेते हैं. दिस इज़ अक्टूबर नवंबर 2020 पेपर 2 वेरिएंट 1. लेट मी इंक्लूड दैट. अच्छा नहीं, continuation नहीं है, never mind. Okay, the cross section of solid A is a sector of a circle of radius 6 cm and angle 40 degrees. The height of the solid A is 4 cm. Calculate the total surface area of solid A. अब देखो, here's my advice when solving questions like these. Whenever you're solving questions like these, the best thing you can do is imagine as if you are holding this object in your hand. ठीक है, क्या इमेजिन करना है? आपने इमेजिन करना है एज इफ यू आर होल्डिंग दिस ऑब्जेक्ट इन योर हैंड. सो इफ आई एम होल्डिंग दिस ऑब्जेक्ट इन माई हैंड, हाउ मेनी फेसेस कैन आई टच? काउंट एंड टेल मी द नंबर ऑफ फेसेस दैट वी कैन टच. सो वी कैन टच द टॉप surface, which is a sector. We can touch the bottom surface, which is also a sector, okay, completely identical to the top. We can touch the rectangle on the side, we can touch the rectangle on the left, and we can also touch this curved surface area on the क्या कहना चाहिए, basically this area. Okay, so here are the faces that we can touch. We can touch this sector, we can touch this sector, so that's 2. Then there is this sector that I can touch, that's 3, or this rectangle that I can touch, that's 3. Then there is this rectangle that I can touch, that's 4. And then there is this curved surface. What will be the dimensions of it and what face will it be? That's something we're going to talk about in a minute. But first, let's start with the head count. So the head count is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means if I want to calculate the total surface area, I need to calculate the area of the 5 faces and I need to add them up. That is how I will get the total surface area. Okay? Whenever there's a question related to surface area, total surface area of any weird solid, multiple solids combined together, this is the way to do it. Okay? So let's start with the top and bottom. Okay, so what do you have at the top and the bottom? You have a sector. Okay, this is what you have. Such that the radius is 6 and the angle is 40. Okay, so how will you calculate the area? The way that you will calculate the area will be 40 upon 360, 40 divided by 360, multiplied by pi, multiplied by 6 squared. Okay, so 40 upon 360 multiplied by pi r squared. How many such faces do we have? We had 2 such faces. They're completely identical, so that means we're going to multiply it by 2. Okay? What formula, if you're talking about P... Yeah, वो भी कर सकते हैं. Yes, we can use that formula also. In fact, yes, अच्छा आपने मुझे remind कराया, मैं खुद ही भूल गया था वो formula. ठीक है, we'll use that formula also. Okay. Then let's calculate the area of the rectangles. Okay, so we have 2 rectangles. Let's calculate their area. So the 2 rectangles will have area 5 times 6 and then we'll multiply it by 2. ठीक है, मैं आपको फिर इसका एक alternative method भी दूंगा. Remind me to do that. अच्छा, then what about this face? What about this face right here? अब यूँ दिखने में तो it's not a shape that we can give a clue. But what happens if I flatten it? ठीक है, अभी तो ये अभी तो मतलब समझो थोड़ा fold. What happens? Flatten it. If I flatten it, what will it will become a rectangle. Okay, if I flatten it, it will become a rectangle. Or do you? Okay, wait a minute. Okay, sorry about that. अब सही होगा? So we were talking about this final face. ठीक हो गया? अब सही है? Is the voice all right now? Okay, great. Now, at the moment, this is not a flat surface. Okay, but if I do flatten it, what will it become? If I flatten it, it will turn into a rectangle. Okay. So finally, we have one rectangle. But the question is, what will be its dimensions? Okay, so imagine this. This is what it looks like right now. Okay, अभी ये ऐसा है. अगर हम इसको flat कर लेंगे, so this will be the arc length and this will be 5. Okay, So let's calculate its arc length. How will I calculate the arc length? It's going to be 40 upon 360 multiplied by 2 multiplied by pi multiplied by r into 5. Okay. Now let's find these values one by one. Let's add them up and see what do we get. Okay. So 40 divided, and then I'll give you guys an alternative way also. 40 upon 360 into 36 pi into 2. So this is equal to what? This is equal to 8 pi. Let's keep everything as it is till we get to the very end. Then 5 into 6 into 2, what's that equal to? That's equal to 60. ठीक हो गया? Then you have 40 divided by 360 into 12 into 5. That's equal to 20 upon 3 pi. Okay, so I've deliberately kept everything as it is till we get to the very end. Now 20 upon 3 pi. Okay, so 20 upon 3 pi plus 8 pi plus 60. What is that equal to? When you add them up, so it's 8 pi plus 60 plus 20 upon 3 pi. What's that equal to? This is equal to 106.077, which correct to 3 significant figures will be 106 centimeters square. Okay, now I'll explain this again. Nope, this is not P1, guys. These are all, in today's class, I will mostly be focusing on calculated question. Okay, so there are 5 faces of which we have to find out the area and then we have to add them up. Okay, so at the top we have a sector, at the bottom we have a sector. This is a rectangle and directly behind it is also a rectangle. And then there is this curved surface area. This curved surface area, when we flatten it, will also become a rectangle such that one length will be the arc length, the other length will be 5. Okay, beta, I've answered that question multiple times. This is a calculator based question. Okay, this is a calculator based question and no, loci is not part of the syllabus. Okay. Acha, how did I get what? How did you get 60? Nope. Why will it be 300? It's 5 into 6, which is 30. 30 times 2 is 60. Now, अब इसका एक alternative way भी देख लो. ठीक है, so to calculate the total surface area of a uniform solid, there is an alternative method. ठीक है, are you guys aware of the alternative method? You guys might have seen that in my streams. So here is an alternative method. And what's that method? That is basically the total surface area of a prism / uniform solid. अच्छा बेटा एड मैथ्स वाले ज़्यादा टेंशन ना लें, एड मैथ्स की मैं बिल्कुल स्ट्रीम करूँगा, ठीक है. जस्ट दैट के it doesn't make sense that I stream add maths right now given that the exam is on the 18th and 26th. Yep, so the alternative method to calculate the total surface area is 2C plus PL. Okay, 2C plus PL. Okay, now what is 2C plus PL? C is the area of cross section. Okay, C is, beta, Mishal, instead of wasting everyone's time and asking what topics you can skip, might as well use the time to cover the topic that you're thinking about skipping. Okay, so since you're wasting everybody's time, I'm afraid I'm going to have to hide you. Acha, ab ye kaun hai? Sana Ullah, sir, do you know about? Yes, I do know about Sir Shakir. Yes, of course. So C is area of cross section. Okay, area of cross section. P is the perimeter of cross section. ठीक हो गया. And then finally L is the length of cross section. Sorry, length of the pyramid. Okay, this formula is going to be a game changer given that you understand it and you remember to use it when the time comes. Okay, so 2C, that means 2 times the area of cross section. So let's do that. What's the cross section? The cross section is a sector. So it's going to be 40 divided by 360 multiplied by pi multiplied by 6, the whole thing square. Okay, and then we're going to multiply it by 2. Okay, all right. Now, plus the perimeter of cross section. Okay. Now, how will you calculate the perimeter of cross section? The perimeter of cross section will be 6 plus the arc length. Okay, so 6 plus the arc length, which is 40 upon 360 multiplied by 2 multiplied by pi multiplied by r, which is equal to 6. ठीक हो गया? And then multiplied by what? Multiplied by the length of the cross section, which is equal to 5. Okay. So like I said, if you understand this formula and if you know how to use it when the time comes, if you remember how to use it when the time comes, this is going to be a game changer. Okay. So work this out. Let's see what do we get. 40 divided by 360 into 36 pi times 2. So once again, this is equal to 8 pi. Plus, let's see what this is equal to. 6 plus 40 upon 360 into 12 pi into 5. ठीक है, यहाँ पे एक ब्रैकेट लगा लो. नहीं, एक सेकेंड. Yeah. Into 5, so this is equal to 80.943 something. Add 8 pi to this, what do you get? You get the exact same answer. 106.0766, which correct to 3 significant figures will be equal to 106. L is the length of the, length of pyramid likh diya maine. I meant to write the length of the prism. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay. Okay, now, part 2. Part 2 says solid B is mathematically similar to solid A. The ratio of the volume of solid A to the volume of solid B is 27:1. Calculate the surface area of solid B. Okay. If I'm given the ratio of the volume, that means with the help of that and with the help of this formula, mind you, you don't have to write down the formula. Okay, I'm just writing down the formula so that you guys know what I'm doing. Okay, and please don't think writing down the formula will give you marks or anything. No. So V1 upon V2 equals to L1 upon L2, the whole thing cube. Okay, what are we given? We're given the ratio of the volumes. That means we're given that volume of solid A is 27, volume of solid B is 1. This will be the same as the length of solid A divided by the length of solid B, the whole thing cubed. Now, how do we get rid of the whole cube? We can get rid of the whole cube by taking the cube root on both sides. Okay? We can get rid of the whole cube by taking the cube root on both sides. Okay, abhi main chat nahi dekh raha, I'm solving this question, so you guys also pay attention. Now, once we do that, what happens? You get 3:1. This is the length of solid A divided by the length of solid B. Okay, what do we want? We want the surface area of solid B. Ab area ke liye what formula do we use? We use A1 upon A2 equals to L1 upon L2, the whole thing cubed. Okay, and please note that this solid that we were dealing with above was solid A, which means the ratio of the length of A is to B is now 3:1. So 3:1, the whole thing square, equals to the area of solid 1, which we just worked out as 106.07 divided by the area of solid B, which we don't know. Now all we have to do is cross multiply and get the answer. ठीक है, कैसे करेंगे? Pay attention. So एक काम करो, इसको expand कर लो यहाँ पे. So you will get 106 point So you'll get 106.07 divided by the area of solid B is equals to 9:1, which means the area of solid B will be equal to your answer. Okay, the area of solid A divided by 9. ठीक है, why? Because इन दोनों की जगह हम swap कर देंगे. So 106.07. Let's divide that by 9. What's that equal to? That's equal to 11.78, which correct to 3 significant figures will be 11.8 centimeter square. Okay, we don't have to worry about the unit. That's already written. ठीक हो गया? And that's it. That's the answer. Okay, इधर क्या चल रहा है? Sir, 106. नहीं आपने use, if you use the rounded off value, you still get away with it. Okay, you still get away with it. Can we do directly area equals to volume? No. Acha, I'm looking at the acceptable range. The acceptable range is 11.7 to 11.8. Okay, but it's always a good idea to use the pre-rounded off value. Okay, when you are solving the following part. Okay. But the rule that I follow is 3 significant figures. Okay, that's the rule that I follow. So, acha, we'll come back to this question. Okay, yeah. Relatively thoda sa आसान है. So let's do this question. This is my favorite question. And this is from October-November 2020, paper 2, variant 2. Okay, it's one of my most frequently solved questions, you can say. Okay. इसमें ना सही टेस्ट हो जाते कितने बच्चे अंडरस्टैंडिंग से सॉल्व करें और कितने बच्चों ने रट्टा लगाया हुआ. Okay, I'll explain this again. So देखो, with the help of the ratio of the volumes, what we do is we find out the ratio of the lengths. Okay, V1 upon V2 equals to L1 upon L2, the whole thing cube, we find out the ratio of the lengths. ठीक है. So can we do it in a single equation like square the volume and cube the area? नहीं beta, please don't do it like that. ठीक है, do it like this only. Find out the ratio of the lengths. ठीक है, once you have the ratio of the lengths, then use this formula. A1 upon A2 equals to L1 upon L2, the whole thing square. A1 will basically be the area of solid A, which is 106, but that's the rounded off value. The actual value is 106.07. Divided by the area of solid B, we don't know, but we do know that the ratio of their lengths, with the help of the ratio of their volumes, is 3:1. Okay? So 3:1, the whole thing square, and cross multiply and get the answer. Sir, arc length, देखो, arc length और rectangle वाली चीज़ अगर नहीं समझ आए ना, मैं आपको एक simple से example देता हूँ, उससे समझ आ जाती. Let me find a piece of paper. Okay, so here's a tracing paper. So think of this face that I'm now highlighting as something like this. ठीक है, ये मैं दोबारा समझा दूँ, फिर हम आगे चलते हैं. So right now, this is what it's like. Let me see what my camera looks like. Yeah. So right now ये ऐसे हुआ हुआ है. ठीक है, ये ऐसे हुआ हुआ है. This is what it's like right now. ठीक है. Now, if I flatten it, what it becomes? What does it become? It becomes a rectangle. That's it. Okay, right now it's like this. Okay. And then if I flatten it, what happens? It becomes a rectangle. Achha, jab ye aise hua hai, look at the dimensions. If you look at the dimensions, you have one length, which is the arc length, and the other is basically the same as the length of the prism. So you flatten it, it becomes a rectangle, and the two dimensions are arc length multiplied by the length of the prism. So basically arc length multiplied by 5. That's it. Multiply, get the answer, and get the job done. Okay. So why have we not used curved surface area formula of cylinder? Beta, because this is not a cylinder. Simple as that. ठीक है. सामने कोई और shape है, आपको बहुत पसंद है cylinder का formula, बेटा, you can solve cylinder questions. ठीक है. But what we're looking at is not a cylinder. That's why we're not using that. Simple as that. ये क्या, अब एक formula पसंद आ गया तो आप हर जगह वही use करेंगे? That does not make any sense, right? Okay. Now, let's solve this question. Let's see what this says. The diagram shows a solid formed by joining a cylinder. चलो cylinder आ गया. ठीक है, आप खुश हो जाओ. ठीक है, जो भी अभी cylinder कह रहा था खुश हो जाए. To a hemisphere. What's a hemisphere? Hemisphere is half a sphere. The diameter of the cylinder is 9 centimeter and its height is 16 centimeter. The volume of the hemisphere is equal to the volume of the cylinder. Show that the radius of the hemisphere is 7.86, corrected 2 decimal places. Okay. So the key piece of information is this, that the volume of the hemisphere is equal to the volume of the cylinder. Okay. Now, how do you calculate the volume of a hemisphere? It's volume of sphere divided by 2. Simple as that. Okay. Volume of sphere divided by 2. So it's not specific formula, but go with the flow for the rectangle and arc length. Yep, that is correct. So the volume of the hemisphere is 2/3 pi. अच्छा, अब sphere की radius को मैं बोल रहा हूँ r cube. Okay, so the radius of the hemisphere, I'm calling that capital R. And the radius of the cylinder will be half of 9, which is 4.5. So 2/3 pi r cube is equals to pi r square, which means pi into 4.5 times squared, multiplied by the height of the cylinder. What's the height of the cylinder? That's equal to 16. Okay, simple. I would say very easy 4 marks, I would say. So we cross out pi. Okay. Let's see what we're dealing with on the right hand side. So 4.5 squared into 16. What's that equal to? That's equal to 324. So 2 upon 3 r cube is equals to 324, which means r cube is equals to 324 divided by 3. Let me write this neatly. 2 upon 3. Sorry, into 3 divided by 2. So that means r cube is equals to 486. Which means if I want the value of r, what will I do? I'll have to take the cube root on both sides because we want to get rid of the cube on r. And if I do that, if I take the cube root on both sides, what is r going to be equal to? R will be equal to 7.8622, which means correct to 2 decimal places, the radius of the hemisphere is 7.86 centimeter. That's it. And then for good measure, write hence shown. There you go. ठीक है. 7.9 बेटा आप किस खुशी में इसको 2 डेसिमल, उसने कहा 2 डेसिमल प्लेसेस, आपने कहा 2 सिग्निफिकेंट फिगर्स. तो बेटा थोड़ा सवाल पढ़ लेते हैं. ठीक है. It's saying 2 decimal places, not 2 significant figures, और आंसर सामने ही लिखा है. So why would you round it off to 7.9? Okay, this is my favorite question because of this. It's actually because of this part, it's my favorite question. And यहाँ पे ना वो saying है ना, दूध का दूध पानी का पानी, तो यहाँ पे वो हो जाता है, दूध का दूध और पानी का पानी हो जाता है. ठीक है, यहाँ पे पता चल जाएगा कितने लोगों ने इस कॉन्सेप्ट को लॉजिक के साथ कर रहे हैं और कितने लोगों ने बस रट्टे लगाए हैं. तो चलें, I'll give you guys 2 minutes to work this out yourself and then I'll explain. Yes, beta, Abiha, you should look at some recent past papers. You will see exactly what formulas are given and what aren't. Okay, it's really as simple as that. Can you do some questions that test both circle properties with mensuration? I'll see if I can come across such questions. Sir, next mock kab lenge? I'm getting 60s in your mocks and 90 plus in school mocks. Okay, next mock inshallah coming week lunga main for sure. 1030 is correct. Mujhe iska answer bhi yaad ho gaya. I've solved it so many times, but I don't want just the answer, I want the method also. How do we find arc length and can we do more arc length questions please? Yeah, I'll do. Beta arc length का तो formula है ना, arc length का formula theta upon 360 into 2 pi r. अब आपको formulas ही नहीं पता तो बेटा there's not much anyone can do. You're supposed to know the formulas. So what should I do if I have done all 5 years past papers and syllabus? Do more past papers, simple as that. That's it. Do more past papers. What were you expecting? When will I start P3 streams? Coming weeks से मैं सोच रहा हूँ finally कर ही लूँ. Although I've been saying that for I don't know how many weeks, but I think coming weeks से मैं इंशाल्लाह कर ही लूँ. Okay, so 30 seconds left. 1030 is the correct answer. Good job, Hamza. I hope you worked it out and did not just look at the final answer. अच्छा, next stream मैं everyday math पे करने लगा हूँ. I'll probably do non-calculator everyday math questions. So yeah. Okay, so I'm going to solve, pay attention. Once again, to find out the total surface area of the solid, since this is not a uniform solid, it's not a prism, that means we'll have to do it the old-fashioned way. Okay, and what's the old-fashioned way? The old-fashioned way is, imagine you're holding this object in your hand. Okay? If you're doing that, what are the different number of faces that you can touch? Let's count. एक आपका ये circle at the top. You can touch this. Okay. Then there is the curved surface area of the cylinder, which you can touch. Okay, so that's number 2. Then there is the hemisphere, which you can touch. That's number 3. And then there is this portion. This portion, which is basically between, which is on the hemisphere and outside of the circular base. Okay, the area that is in between the big circle and the small circle. Okay, so altogether there are 1, 2, 3 and 4. ठीक है. अच्छा, अब एक काम करते हैं, इसको हाईलाइट करते हैं और एक एक करके सॉल्व करते हैं. Let's begin with this green one. Okay, so this green surface that you're looking at is simply a circle. Okay, it's simply a circle. जिसका area क्या होगा? Its area will be equal to pi into 4.5 squared. Okay, and what's that equal to? That's equal to 20.25 pi. Okay, so let's do it step by step. Let's not jump to conclusions. Let's do it systematically. Then there is this surface which I'm coloring in blue. ठीक है? What surface is this? This is the curved surface area of a cylinder. अब देखो, अगर formulas याद नहीं है ना तो मज़ा नहीं आएगा. ठीक है ना, आपको पढ़ने में मज़ा आएगा ना मुझे पढ़ाने में मज़ा आएगा. ठीक है, आप कहोगे कि सर ये क्या कर रहे हैं आप, ये कौन सा फॉर्मूला यूज़ कर रहे हैं, तो बेटा फॉर्मूलाज याद कर लो. ठीक है, अभी अगर याद नहीं हो रहा है तो एटलीस्ट कीप द फॉर्मूलाज इन फ्रंट ऑफ यू. सो दिस इज़ द कर्व्ड सरफेस एरिया ऑफ द सिलेंडर. Okay, and the way we calculate the curved surface area of the cylinder is 2 pi RH. So 2 into pi into R, which is 4.5, into the height of the cylinder, which is equal to 16. Okay, so what's that equal to? That's equal to 2 times 4.5, that's into 16, which is 144. 144 pi. ठीक हो गया. अच्छा, then comes the tricky part. What's the tricky part? The tricky part is this area. The tricky part is, जिसको मैं रेड में हाईलाइट कर देता हूँ, ये जो पोर्शन है ना, which is in between the big circle, outside of the small circle and inside of the big circle. ठीक है, अभी काम ये करो, थोड़ा सा इसको separately बना लो. ठीक है, so this is the big circle and then this is the small circle. The radius of the small circle we already know, that's 4.5. And the radius of the large circle, the question made us figure that out, that is 7.86. Okay, and the area that we want is this area. Okay, so we know the radius of the small circle, which is 4.5, and we also have the radius of the large circle, which is 7.86. ठीक है, तो ये हमारे पास radius है of the large circle, which is 7.86, which means if you want the area of the shaded region, here's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to do pi into 7.86 squared minus pi into 4.5. Okay, so kind of like a ring. ठीक है, इसको ring type problems भी बोलते हैं. So we'll calculate the radius, we'll calculate the area of this ring by using this formula. Pi into 7.86 squared minus pi into 4.5 squared. What's that equal to? That's equal to 130.469. Okay, then one last face. And I'm running out of colors. Chalo, purple hai. Okay, ye kya hai? This is basically the surface area, the curved surface area of a hemisphere. So let's work this out. So the curved surface area of a hemisphere is 2 pi r squared. What will be the radius? The radius will be 7.86, what we worked out earlier. Okay, so let's work this out. So 2 into pi into 7.86, the whole thing square. What's that equal to? That's equal to 388.1726. Okay, let's add all of them up. Let's add this with this, with this, with this. So plus 130.469 plus 144 pi plus 20.25 pi. What's that equal to? This is equal to, so once you add all of them up, here's what you get. ठीक है, इसको अच्छा बेटा मैं अभी chat नहीं देख रहा. ठीक है, I can do one thing at a time. So let me get through this and I'll start answering your question. So 1034.648, which correct to 3 significant figures, will be 1030 centimeters square. And that's it. Okay. This is pink, not purple. Nah, it's pink here. I mean, it's purple. Chalo khair. Purple yaar, aap jeet gaye. Okay. I'm bad with colors anyway. So yeah. Sir, do the mother of all mensuration question. There is one question which I will classify as the mother of all mensuration question. But 3 significant figures. 3 significant figures will be 1030, but the examiner is lenient. 1030 be accepted hai, 1040 be accepted hai, 1034.6, 1035.1. But the standard rule that I follow is 3 significant figures. एंड दैट्स इट. ठीक है, अब करते हैं कोई और ज़रा मुश्किल सवाल करते हैं 3D मेंसुरेशन का. शो दैट द लेंथ इजी 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 ये करते हैं. Not that I would classify this as a very difficult question. There are far more difficult questions, but let's do it. अच्छा, एंड में मुझे रिमाइंड कराना, मैं एक फ्रस्टम का सवाल भी करूँगा, आप लोगों को करके दिखाऊँगा. Okay. The diagram shows a paper cup in the shape of a cone. The diameter of the top of the cup is 7 centimeter. The volume of the cup is 110. Show that the height of the cup is 8.57, correct to 2 decimal places. All right, no big deal. Let's do this. So बेटा देखो, एक काम ये करें कि कोई भी रीसेंट पास पेपर खोल के देख लें. एंड आई एम सरप्राइज आप लोगों ने अभी तक ये किया क्यों नहीं है. आप लोग ईयरली पास पेपर्स क्या आंखें बंद करके आप लोग सॉल्व कर रहे हैं ईयरली पास पेपर्स. कोई भी एक पास पेपर रीसेंट आप खोल के देख लें, उसको प्रिंट कर लें, आपको पता चल जाएगा कौन सा फार्मूला गिवन है, कौन सा नहीं गिवन. ठीक है, ये रहे सारे फार्मूलाज. अभी भी अगर आप लोगों ने नहीं किया तो आई डोंट नो व्हाट यू गाइस आर अप टू, बट एनीवे हियर इट इज. दीज आर ऑल द फार्मूलाज दैट आर गिवन. Okay, open up any past paper after 2025, you will find out what formulas are given and what formulas you need to memorize. ठीक हो गया. Now, let me continue solving this question. The volume of the cup is 110 centimeter cube. So what's volume equal to? Volume of a cone is equal to 1 upon 3 pi r square h. Don't waste the examiner's time by writing down the formula expecting that you will get marks. You won't get marks for something that is already given. Okay? This is from October-November 2021, paper 2, variant 2. Yeah. Show that the height of the cup h is 8.57, correct to 2 decimal places. So what will you use? You will have to use the volume. What's the volume equal to? Volume is equals to 1 upon 3 pi. What will be the radius? The radius will be 3.5 squared times the height, which is equal to what? Which is equal to 110. Okay. Let's make h the subject. H will be equal to 110 upon 3 divided by 3.5 squared times pi. ठीक है, मैंने directly h को subject बना दिया so that I can just use my calculator and get the job done. So 110 into 3 divided by 3.5 squared times pi. So if you work this out correctly, so h is equals to 8.5748, which means the height is equals to 8.57, correct to 2 decimal places. So put a box around it, and for good measure, write hence shown. Screen is stuck? I don't think so. I can see that it's working all right. Is it stuck? Was it stuck? Okay. Ariba, I think आपका इंटरनेट का मसला है. Although sometimes that problem does happen. Hey, calculate the slant height L of the cup. Okay. So what do we have? We have the height, we have the radius, which means we can use Pythagoras and calculate the slant height. Okay. So let's do that. We'll have to draw a right angle triangle and then use Pythagoras theorem to get the job done. So this is 3.5, and then we just worked out h as 8.57. So this is the slant height. L is equals to square root of 3.5 squared plus 8.57 squared. That means the slant height is equals to, बेटा वेबसाइट पे जाके देख लो, जो टॉपिकल हैं वो देयर फ्री फॉर एवरीवन. ठीक है, सवाल बहुत लोग बहुत पूछते हैं आप लोग. ठीक है, अगर आप लोग सवाल कम पूछें एंड इफ़ यू टर्न योर क्वेश्चंस इनटू एक्शंस, यू नो यू विल एक्चुअली बी एबल टू गेट समथिंग वर्थवाइल डन. सो करेक्ट 3 significant figures, that is equal to 9.26. ठीक हो गया. Okay, now this is question number 44 from the worksheet. So yeah. Now let's have a look at part C. Okay. The cup is cut along the line OA. It is opened out into a sector of a circle with center O and sector angle x degrees. Calculate the value of x. Okay, so I repeat. The cup is cut along the line OA, so that means you cut it along this. It is opened out into a sector with center O and sector angle x. Calculate the value of x. Achha, as we transition from here to here, tell me what happens. ठीक है, ये आप लोगों को पता होगा, मैंने इस तरह के सवाल बहुत कराए. Sir G 4024 October November 2025 paper 12. चलो ठीक है, मैं करा दूंगा. 7 radius? No. Circumference equals to arc length. That is correct. Good job, Zaid. Okay. अच्छा, अब देखो, 3 चीज़ें मेरी याद रखो, ठीक है? And this applies to whenever you turn it into, whenever you cut a cone and turn it into a sector, here's what happens. Okay? So when a cone is cut along the slant height and turned into a sector, these 3 things are a must know. Okay? Number 1. And what is that? ठीक है, मैं अभी आप लोगों को दिखा भी दूंगा. The slant height of cone is now equal to the radius of sector. Number 1. Number 2, the circumference of circular base of cone equals arc length of sector. Number 3, the curved surface area of cone, equals area of sector. ठीक है, ये 3 बातें याद रखना. Okay, so I'll repeat. The arc length becomes the slant height of the cone becomes the radius of the sector. The circumference of circular base of cone equals the arc length of sector, and the curved surface area of cone is equal to the area of sector. ठीक है, अब देखो, अगर नहीं समझ आया तो I'm not surprised. Hey, I'm just joking. I have a plan B. Don't worry. Here it is. It's okay, beta. No need to panic. ठीक है, there's always a way out. ठीक है, अब ये कौन है? Okay, इसको गौर से देखना. I'm going to open it. Okay, I'm going to open it and I want you to pay attention. So as I open it, notice what happens. ठीक है, अच्छा, how am I opening it? I'm cutting it along the slant height and then I'm opening it. ठीक है, it's not that I'm just randomly cutting it and opening it. No, I'm going to make a cut along the slant height and then I'm going to open it. अच्छा beta, I think now you're just spamming. ठीक है, I thought it was a genuine issue, but I think now you're just spamming. So I'm afraid I'll have to hide you. So yeah, I'm going to cut it along the slant height and then I'm going to open it. Okay? So as I open it, I want you guys to pay attention to a few things. Okay? I'm going to close it back and I want you guys to pay attention to a few things. I want you to pay attention to this arc length. I want you to pay attention to this radius of the sector. Okay? Pay attention to the arc length and I want you to pay attention to the radius of the sector. So now I'm going to close it. Close it. Yeah, देखो. So notice what just happened. The arc length is now directly on top of the circular base. Okay, the arc length is directly on top of the circular base. That means the arc length is equals to the circumference of the circle. And notice what happens to this slant height. This slant height becomes the radius of the sector. Radius, slant height. Radius, slant height. Okay. Once again, pay attention to the arc length, circumference, arc length, circumference. Okay. Acha. Then right now it's a sector, so that means this area is equal to the curved surface area of the cone. Area of sector, curved surface area of cone. Area of sector, curved surface area of the cone. ठीक है? So yeah. अच्छा, इन नोट्स को ज़रा ऊपर कर देते हैं थोड़ी देर के लिए. Let me change the color. इसको हाथ के हाथ बोल्ड भी कर देते हैं. ठीक है, blue looks off. Green looks better. Okay, now. So what do we want? We want the value of x. Achha, what do we have? We know that this will be equal to, this is the radius of the sector, which will be equal to the slant height, that's 9.26. And this will be equal to the circumference. Okay, this will be equal to the circumference of the cone. ठीक है, ये दोनों क्या होंगे? ये दोनों equal होंगे. मैं ये मिटा देता हूँ, so you don't get confused. This is equal to 9.26, and these two will be equal. ठीक है, in fact, let me highlight it nicely. So this length, which is the arc length, will be equal to the circumference of the circle. ठीक है, ये दोनों क्या होंगे? ये दोनों equal होंगे. All right. So what's the circumference of a circle? Circumference of a circle is 2 pi r. In place of radius, we will take 3.5 equals to the arc length of the sector, which means x upon 360 multiplied by 2 multiplied by pi. The radius, however, will be equal to the slant height of the cone. ठीक हो गया? Now, the good news is we can cross out 2 pi from both sides. So let's do that. And all we have to do is do 3.5 times 360 divided by 9.26. ठीक है? So pay attention, guys. Here's what I'm doing. 3.5 times 360. 3.5 times 360 divided by 9.26, which is equal to 136.06. And correct angles, remember, are always given correct to 1 decimal place. ठीक है? So let me double check. हाँ, सही है. So x is equals to 136.069, which means 136.1 degree is the correct answer. There you go. ठीक हो गया? मज़ा आया? Part D. Part D says a second paper cup is mathematically similar to the cup with volume 110. The volume of the second cup is 165 centimeter cube. Calculate the diameter of the second cup. All right, so we're dealing with volume and we have to use the volume to calculate the diameter. ठीक है? अच्छा, अब हम use क्या करेंगे? We're going to use V1 upon V2 is equals to L1 upon L2, the whole thing cube, except in place of L, we will use the diameter. Okay, so the two lengths that we will use will be the diameter. A second paper cup is mathematically similar to the cup with volume 110. Okay, so volume 110 means that we're talking about this shape which has diameter 7. So here is 110 divided by V2, and this is equal to the diameter of the small cone which has radius 7, diameter 7, divided by the volume of the larger cone, of which we don't know what the diameter is. That's in fact what we're supposed to find. Okay, don't forget to cube it. I just realized we're given the volume, so let's replace that with 165. 165. ठीक है? अब इसको यूज़ करने के लिए आपको अच्छी कैलकुलेटर स्किल्स चाहिए. So we'll have to first of all take the cube root on both sides. So let's take the cube root on both sides so that the cube and the cube root just take out each other. So here's what we're left with. Let's take the cube root of 110 upon 165. ठीक हो गया? वैसे I've noticed जितना मैं कम chat पढ़ रहा हूँ उतना सुकून से काम हो रहा है. I think I should probably just disable the chat. Equals to 7 upon d2. ठीक है? अब देखो, it's best that you use the answer key of your calculator. Do not make an attempt to rewrite this value in your calculator. You know that when you swap places, in place of this, you'll have d2. In place of d2, you'll have this value. So that means 7 will be divided by the answer. And if you do that, what do you get? You get 8.01. That's the diameter of the large cone. Okay. All right. अच्छा क्या चल रहा है यहाँ पे? Sir, can we get questions like finding surface area of net of a compound shape? Yeah, of course you can. So won't we cube the lengths? Nope, we've taken the cube root. Okay, we got rid of the cube by taking the cube root on both sides. Okay. Okay, आगे चलते हैं. ये करते हैं. I beg you, खैरियत भाई, begging me for what? बेटा beg you के आगे पीछे भी तो बताओ. What are you begging me for? IGCSE के करें? IGCSE कर लेंगे. So why 7 got divided? Shouldn't it be multiplied? No, we did not divide 7. The answer got divided by 7. Sorry, 7 got divided by the answer. Duration of the stream. बेटा मुझे नहीं पता ड्यूरेशन ऑफ द स्ट्रीम क्या होगी. क्या करना आपने ड्यूरेशन ऑफ द स्ट्रीम से बेटा? अगर लाइव नहीं देख सकते तो बाद में आके देख लेना. ठीक है. हाउ डिफिकल्ट ऑफ अ डिसीजन इज़ दैट. अच्छा ये क्वेश्चन करते हैं, फिर विल टेक अ नमाज ब्रेक एंड देन वी विल रिज्यूम. ठीक है. इनफैक्ट ये क्वेश्चन बड़ा है, इससे पहले ही नमाज का टाइम हो जाएगा. सो लेट मी डू अ स्मॉल क्वेश्चन, देन वी विल टेक अ नमाज ब्रेक. ये क्वेश्चन करते हैं. आई लाइक दिस क्वेश्चन. द डायग्राम शोज स्फीयर इनसाइड अ क्यूब. ठीक है. कैन वी यूज लॉग व्हेन सॉल्विंग 2 power x equals to 8? बेटा डोंट यू हैव इनफ प्रॉब्लम्स इन योर लाइफ ऑलरेडी? अच्छा व्हाट्स दैट? 4024 पेपर 12 October November 2025 latest question. बेटा didn't I already solve that in the last stream? चलो if I didn't I'll include it. ठीक है. So the diagram shows a sphere inside a cube. The sphere touches all 6 faces of the cube. So what does that mean? That the sphere is touching all 6 faces of the cube. That means the radius of the cube is actually equal to half the length of the cube. Okay, that's what it means. Okay. Now, so the volume of the cube is 343. So if the volume of the cube is 343, that means L cube is equals to 343. Take the cube root on both sides. And what's the cube root of 343? कितनों को याद है? क्या मुझे बता सकता है क्यूब रूट ऑफ 343? अगर आपको याद होगा तो दैट्स इक्वल टू 7. ठीक है. सो दैट मीन्स द लेंथ ऑफ द क्यूब इज 7. ओके, द लेंथ ऑफ द क्यूब इज 7. इफ द लेंथ ऑफ द क्यूब इज 7, व्हाट डज दैट मीन? दैट मीन्स द diameter of the sphere will also be equal to 7. ठीक है. That means the diameter of the sphere will also be equal to what? Will also be equal to 7. ठीक हो गया. अच्छा अब हम एक काम करते हैं. What are we supposed to do? We're supposed to calculate the volume of the sphere. So if the diameter is equals to 7, that means the radius is equals to 3.5. So how do you calculate the volume of a sphere? The formula is given. It's going to be 4 upon 3 into pi into 3.5 cubed. Okay, work this out directly using your calculator and get the answer. ठीक है. So this is equal to 179.594, which correct to 3 significant figures. Although 180 is 2 significant figures, but we have no choice. Okay. Okay, solid A is mathematically similar to solid B. The volume of solid A is 540 and its height is 15. The volume of solid B is 1280. So it's not connected to this. Okay, it's a completely independent question. So volume of solid A divided by the volume of solid B, which is 1280, is equals to height of solid A divided by height of solid B, which we don't know. Okay, and what we have to do is we have to cube because v1 upon v2 equals to L1 upon L2, the whole thing cube. अच्छा पेंटागन वाला क्वेश्चन करना है, पेंटागन वाला भी कर देंगे. स्ट्रीम इंशाल्लाह आज की मैं ज़रा लंबी करूँगा, बट आई विल जस्ट टेक अ नमाज ब्रेक. वी विल आई थिंक कंटिन्यू अराउंड 9:15. ठीक है, या 9:05 तक हम कंटिन्यू करेंगे, फिर विल कैरी ऑन टिल 11 इंशाल्लाह. सो 540 डिवाइड बाई 1280. ठीक है, लेट्स टेक द क्यूब रूट ऑफ दिस. सो दीज आर नाइस वैल्यूज़. काफ़ी अच्छा सवाल है, शुड बी अ पेपर 1 क्वेश्चन. So 3 upon 4 when you take the cube root on both sides, which is equal to 15 upon the height of solid B. Okay, so remember we are taking the cube root on both sides so that we can get rid of the cube. Okay. So 3 ones are 3, 3 fives are 15. Let's cross multiply. So the height of solid B is equals to 20. And not bad, that's easier than I thought. अच्छा, ये हम कंटिन्यू करते हैं नमाज के बाद. ठीक है, I encourage you guys to attempt this question and attempt every other question that you want to. ठीक है, और फिर आके हम टारगेट करते हैं कि we solve at least 10 more questions. Okay, we'll do some IGCSE also. We'll do some questions where you have to calculate the angle that the diagonal makes with the base. I saw one such question. I think we'll do that also. ठीक है, and then like I said, we'll do some IGCSE questions also. ठीक है, और एक mother of all questions भी है which I'll do towards the end. ठीक है, so I will pause here, fellas. I was gonna say I'll stop here, but I'll pause here. Let's take a namaz break. We'll resume at 9:05 p.m. 9:10 कर लेते हैं. ठीक है, PKT Pakistan time. Per letters. ठीक है, so see you guys in a few minutes. Okay guys, welcome back. अच्छा भाई इधर क्या हो गया? Just a minute. एक सेकंड यार, iPad का स्क्रीन नहीं आ रहा, just give me 1 minute. So Saad, is it necessary to give all answers in 3 significant figures? Yes, it is absolutely necessary that you give all answers correct to 3 significant figures. The all non-exact answers. But you will notice that the examiner is a little bit lenient. So it's not a total deal breaker. Okay. All right. So let's continue. The curved surface area of a cone is pi RL. The diagram shows a solid formed by joining a cone to a cylinder. The cone and the cylinder each have radius 6.3 centimeter. All right. Then what does it say? It says that the slant height of the cone is 8.7. The ratio of the height of the cone to the height of the cylinder is 2.3. ठीक हो गया. Calculate the total surface area of the solid. How many marks? 5 solid marks. Okay. So don't just nosedive into solving questions like these. Don't just brainlessly start solving questions like these. Make sure that you first plan before you start solving. ठीक है? अच्छा. First of all, let's see how many areas we need to add before we have the total surface area. So we need to add the areas of 1, the curved surface area of the cone, 2, the curved surface area of the cylinder, 3, the circular base of the cylinder. We need to add these 3 areas, and that is how we're going to get our answer to the surface area of the solid. Okay? So let's see, do we have enough information? We don't have the height of the cylinder. So let's begin by calculating the height of the cone. Let's begin by calculating the height of the cone. How will I calculate the height of the cone? I will do 6.3 squared plus h squared equals to 8.7 squared, which means if I make height the subject, height will be equal to square root of 8.7 squared minus 6.3 squared. Okay, let's work this out using a calculator. So square root of 8.7 squared minus 6.3 squared, what's that equal to? That's equal to 6. So that means the height of the cone is equals to 6. So why do we need the height of the cone? Even though the height of the cone is not going to be used in any formula, we're calculating the area. Height of the cone we normally use when we're calculating volume. But height इसलिए निकालना है so that we can then find out the height of the cylinder. Okay, so this is equal to 6. What's the height of the cylinder? We don't know. Let's call it capital H so that we can distinguish it from the height of the cone. Now notice the question says that the height of the cone is to the height of the cylinder is 2:3. That means 6, which is the height of the cone, divided by h, which is the height of the cylinder. They are both in the ratio 2:3. So that means 2 1s are, 2 3s are, and if you cross multiply, 3 times 3 is equals to 9 centimeter. ठीक है. अच्छा, अब क्या हो गया? अब हमें चाहिए the total surface area. Do we have all the ingredients? Yes, we now have all the ingredients. That means we can start putting them together. So let's first calculate the curved surface area of the cone. The curved surface area of the cone will be pi RL. That means pi into 6.3 into the slant height, which is 8.7. Okay? Plus the curved surface area of the cylinder, which is 2 pi r. So the radius of the cylinder is 6.3. The height is 9. Plus the area of the circle, which means pi into 6.3 squared. Okay? Please work this out as it is using your calculator. No need to break it down. I'm going to do this part mentally and this part in the calculator. No, that's just going to be a total waste of time. Okay? Let's just simply plug this in the calculator and let the calculator do all the hard work. So plus 2 pi into 6.3 into 9 plus pi into 6.3, close the bracket, square the whole thing. So we get 2079 over 10 pi. Keep everything exact till you get to the very end so that you don't end up doing premature approximation. So this is approximately equal to 653.137, which correct to 3 significant figures will be equal to 653. ठीक हो गया? अच्छा. What is it that's going on? Can you please give some predictions? But I don't do predictions. ठीक है, you're probably in the wrong group if you're asking for, I mean, you're probably at the wrong place if you're asking for predictions. ठीक है, predictions are a total waste of time. अच्छा, sir, have you completed Frustum yet? No, Frustum का भी हम एक सवाल करेंगे. अच्छा, अब एक काम करते हैं. Let's do one of those questions where we have to calculate. I'm thinking I should do a round 2 of this. इसका round 2 भी कर लेंगे हम. So let's do some IGCSE questions now. Let's do some IGCSE questions, and before that, let's do some Frustum related questions also. ठीक है? Frustum is something that has been added in the syllabus. अच्छा देखो, it's actually not added in the syllabus, it was always there. ठीक है? It was always there, part of the syllabus. It's just that now we tend to, now it's more official. Okay? Now it's more official. अच्छा बेटा, अगर आप लोग कोई लिंक शेयर करने की कोशिश कर रहे हो वीडियो पे तो आई डिसेबल्ड लिंक्स. ठीक है, आई सेव यू द ट्रबल. यू कांट शेयर लिंक्स ऑन एनी वीडियोस. ठीक है, ओके. नाउ so you guys are going to have to figure out some other way of doing it. So anyway, I'm going to solve this now. Let's pay attention. The diagram shows the frustum of a cone. Okay, the frustum has base radius 0.6. Achha, first of all, what is a frustum? So frustum is basically a cone. And if you take a cone and if you from it remove a smaller cone, that's basically what a frustum is. ठीक है? अच्छा, this you will find. चलो मैं ये भी upload कर देता हूँ. This I'm afraid I haven't uploaded, so I'll upload this also. ये आपको mensuration new folder होगा, उसमें मिल जाएगा. Okay, so coming back. What is a frustum? Frustum is basically the shape that's left over when you have a cone and from it you remove another cone. That's it. That's basically what a frustum is. Okay? Now, the frustum has base radius 0.6 and height 0.48. The vertical height of the original cone is 1.44. Calculate the total surface area of the frustum. You guys may find some formulas telling you how to calculate the total surface area of the cone or something. Okay? But my suggestion is, don't use those formulas. Those formulas are a total waste of time. ठीक है? Instead आप एक काम ही करो, just use your common sense. Simple as that. ठीक है? What do I mean by common sense? By common sense, I mean कि आप simply calculate the volume of the bigger cone. From that, subtract the volume of the smaller cone. Okay? So calculate the total surface area of the frustum. ठीक है? अच्छा, ये area की बात हो रही है. मैं वॉल्यूम की बात कर रहा था. ठीक है? If let's suppose you were supposed to calculate the volume of the frustum, you will find some weird formulas के this minus this and stuff like that. Don't do that. If you're supposed to calculate the volume, I think we are supposed to calculate the volume. अच्छा, volume का question अलग है. But I'm just giving you guys a heads up that if you are supposed to calculate the volume, just simply calculate the volume of the big cone. From that, subtract the volume of the cone that has been removed, and you'll have the volume of the frustum. ठीक है? अच्छा, अब how will I calculate the total surface area of the frustum? So notice that there are 3 faces of which we need to add the area of. Okay, so there is this area. There is the area of the top circle. Area of the top, okay, which is a circle, plus the area of the base, which is also a circle. Okay, plus the curved surface area. Okay. Which curved surface area? This curved surface area. अच्छा, अब ये कैसे कैलकुलेट करें? First, let's start with what we can so that we can start securing marks. अब देखो, whenever you have a frustum or whenever you have a pyramid from which you remove another pyramid, you will instantly have a pair of similar triangles. ठीक है, instantly. So what do we now have? We, like I said, have a pair of similar triangles here. ठीक है, this is the pair of similar triangles that we're dealing with. Okay, now notice that we have the height of the bigger triangle. Correct? Achha, why are we doing this? Am I just applying similar triangles because I feel like it? No. I'm using this because what do I want? I cannot calculate the area of the circular top for as long as I don't have the radius. Okay, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Okay. So we want the radius, and you can't just assume that this radius will be 0.6. Obviously, the circle at the base is wider compared to the circle at the top. Okay, it's going to get smaller and smaller. So you can't just assume that it's going to be the same throughout. This is not a uniform solid, it's a cone. Okay. Acha, now, so let's see what we have over here. So the height of the larger solid is 1.44. Okay. And the base of the smaller solid is 0.6. Okay. Acha. What do we want? We want to calculate. Acha, also notice that we can also work out the height of the smaller triangle. Why? Because we have this height, which is 1.44. If from that I subtract 0.48, I will then have the height of the smaller triangle. ठीक है, smaller triangle कह लो, smaller cone कह लो, same thing. ठीक है, अच्छा बेटा, I'm not reading the chat. I can see that you guys are spamming. I'm not reading it right now. I'm solving this question, then I'll pay attention to it. Now, what's the height of the smaller triangle? It's going to be 1.44 minus 0.48. Let's work that out. 1.44 minus 0.48, that's equal to 0.96. Okay. So what's the concept that we're using here? We're using the concept of similar triangles. Okay, we're using the concept of similar triangles. So the height of the larger cone, which is 1.44, divided by the height of the smaller cone, which is 0.96, is equal to the radius of the larger cone, which is 0.6. Let's just double check. Yep, that's 0.6. Divided by the radius of the smaller cone, that's r. Okay, so I repeat. The height of the larger cone divided by the height of the smaller cone, the ratio of the heights will be equal to the ratio of the radii. This is equal to the radius of the larger cone divided by the radius of the smaller cone. Okay, so let's work this out. Let's see what do we get. So 1.44 divided by 0.96, that's equal to 1.5. So 1.5 and cross multiply also at the same time is equals to 1.5 r equals to 0.6, which means 0.6 divided by answer, and the radius is equals to 0.4. Okay, now let's put this all together. Acha beta, agar aap log spam karoge na, then I'm afraid I'll have to do something about it. Okay, you guys will not be able to comment, so please stop spamming. Okay, now we have the radius. Now it's time to start collecting the areas. We can calculate the area of the top, which means we can do pi into 0.4 squared. That's the area of the circular top, plus the area of the circular base, which means pi into 0.6 squared. Okay, it's a 6-mark question. Okay, so please be mentally prepared. Acha, now a question for you guys. How will I calculate the curved surface area of the frustum? How will I calculate the curved surface area of the frustum? ये आप लोगों के लिए सवाल है. बताएं क्या जवाब होगा इसका. That's correct. We will calculate the total surface area of the, we'll calculate the curved surface area of larger cone minus the curved surface area of the smaller cone. Okay, so I repeat. देखो अब ये ऐसा शेप नहीं है कि मैं कहूँ ये फॉर्मूला यूज़ कर लो. Okay, this is not a prism, this is not a shape where I can say use so and so formula and get the job done? No. What you have to do is you will have to figure out the curved surface area of the larger cone, which is going to be all this area. From that, you will have to get rid of the curved surface area of the smaller cone, which is all this area, and then you will have the curved surface area of the hemisphere. ठीक है? So ये हम कैसे निकाल रहे हैं? ये देख लें आप. This will be the curved surface area of the big cone minus the curved surface area of the small cone. ठीक है? अब that makes us run into another problem. ठीक है? What is that problem that we run into? We don't have the slant height. ठीक है? अब हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा? We'll have to calculate the slant height. तो कोई बात नहीं. That's not that big of a problem. Let's calculate the slant height. ठीक है? हम slant height निकाल के हम ratio भी लगा सकते हैं. Or we can just calculate the slant height of both the cones separately and then plug them in the formula. Okay, please bear in mind that this is a 6-mark question. Okay, a 6-mark mensuration question means, you know, there's got to be there does require a lot of effort. Okay, so let's calculate the slant height. So the slant height of the small cone will be equal to the radius of the small cone, which is 0.4, I believe. Yeah, plus the height of the small cone, which I believe was 0.96. Yeah, 0.96. So that means the slant height of the small cone will be 0.96 squared plus 0.4 squared. Okay, let's see what is that equal to. Square root of 0.96 squared plus 0.4 squared, that's equal to 1.04. ठीक है, बड़ी अच्छी लेंथ्स आ रही हैं, कोई राउंड ऑफ करने की ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ रही. Let's hope this carries on. अच्छा, then let's calculate the slant height of the larger cone. Let's calculate the slant height of the larger cone, जिसको मैं बोल रहा हूँ capital L, so that I can distinguish it from the smaller one. So the slant height of the larger cone will be equal to 0.6 squared plus 1.44 squared, which means the slant height of the larger cone will be square root of 0.6 squared plus 1.44 squared. That is equal to 1.56. Okay, now it's time to put this all together. So remember, we said that if you want to calculate the curved surface area of the frustum, we will have to do the curved surface area of the big cone minus the curved surface area of the smaller cone. So the curved surface area of the big cone means that I use the radius of the bigger cone, that's 0.6, multiplied by the slant height of the big cone, which is 1.56. ठीक हो गया? Minus the curved surface area of the small cone, which means that I use the radius of the small cone, which is 0.4, multiplied by the slant height of the small cone, which is 1.04. 1.04. ठीक है? No, total surface area and curved surface area are not the same thing, beta. Total surface area means area of all the shapes. Curved surface area means only the area of the curved part. Okay, so this is it, the moment of truth. Time to put this all together. 0.4 squared plus pi into 0.6 squared. ठीक हो गया? Plus pi into 0.6 into 1.56, close the bracket, plus pi into, sorry, plus nahi, minus pi into 0.4 into 1.04. So what we get as a result is 26 over 25 pi, which if I look at, the approximate value is 3.267 meters square, which means correct to 3 significant figures, it's going to be 3.23 meters square. ठीक हो गया? So yeah. अच्छा, what's that? I'll explain the slant height part again. देखो. So since we want the curved surface area, we cannot find out the curved surface area for as long as we don't have the slant height. So because we've worked out the height and the radius of the smaller cone, we can find out the slant height by using Pythagoras theorem. Here it is, the slant height of the smaller cone. And we are now finding out the slant height of the larger cone, which I've referred to as capital L. So capital L is the slant height of the larger cone, which will be equal to the height squared plus the radius squared inside the square root. Okay, that gave me the slant height of the larger cone. Okay. Why do we need this? We need these so that we can calculate the curved surface area of the larger cone. From that, subtract the curved surface area of the smaller cone so that we have the curved surface area of the frustum. ठीक है? This question is straight up business. Yep, that is correct. I do agree. अच्छा, इसका आंसर देख लेते हैं. What's the answer to this? I hope I have the answer to this. This is the very first question, which is, yep, 3 point, yeah, ना my answer 3.27. हाँ, 3.27, which is correct. ठीक है. अच्छा, let's do some more frustum related questions. एक वॉल्यूम का भी कर लेते हैं. ठीक है, फिर we'll circle back to some IGCSE questions. A solid is made by cutting a small cone from a larger cone as shown in the diagram. The height of the larger cone is 12.5. The height of the solid is 5.5. The diameter of the base of the larger cone is 9.2. Basically, why here? So if you look at this question is from October-November 2022. And I'll show you that people think frustum has been added recently, but the reality is it hasn't been added recently. It has always been part of the syllabus. Okay, I'll show you. So look at this. This is from May-June 2010, paper 2, variant 2. यहाँ पे भी frustum का word use हुआ है. Okay, so frustum is not anything new. It has always been part of the syllabus. It's just that I think they reminded us that it's part of the syllabus because they maybe want to test it more often. Okay, so people started losing their mind when they realized, oh my god, frustum add हो गया, ये क्या वो क्या. ठीक है, अपने टीचरों को बहाना चाहिए होता है वैसे भी बुरा भला बोलने का कि हमें तो frustum कराया नहीं. So frustum is not something that is added recently. It's been part of your syllabus it's been part of the syllabus since the beginning. The solid is made by cutting a small cone from a larger cone as shown in the diagram. The height of the larger cone is 12.5. The height of the solid is 5.5. The diameter of the larger cone is 9.2. Work out the volume of the solid. Okay. So before I can find out the volume of the solid, I need to plan. So volume of solid equals to volume of big cone. Okay, this will be equal to volume of big cone minus the volume of small cone. ठीक है, ये plan करना बहुत important होता है because this will tell you what you need to do. ठीक है, it's like, it's not that you look at the ingredients and you see what you can make. Okay, you first decide what it is that you're going to make and then you start collecting the ingredients. ठीक है, so this is what we're going to make. ठीक है, imagine this is biryani. We have to make biryani. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at all the ingredients that go into making biryani and we're going to start collecting those ingredients. Okay. So October, November. Oh हाँ हाशिर, आपने मुझे याद नहीं दिलाया. मैं अभी करता हूँ इस क्वेश्चन की बात करता हूँ पक्का. ठीक है. So volume of big cone. So to calculate the volume of the big cone, do we have all the ingredients? Yes, we do. We have the radius. ठीक है. I mean, we don't have the radius, but we can work out the radius. We have the height. That's it. We can now calculate the volume of the big cone. ठीक है. अच्छा, so let's put a check mark here. Okay, ये तो हम कर सकते हैं. ठीक है. What about the volume of the small cone? Do I have the relevant dimensions for that? Yes or no? Do I have the dimensions for calculating the volume of the small cone? Yes or no? No, we don't. What's missing? What's the missing piece of the puzzle? What's the missing ingredient? The missing ingredient is the radius. ठीक है. Height तो है हमारे पास, but the missing ingredient is the radius. ठीक है. अब let's figure out. First, let's write down the height. 12.5 minus 5.5, that's equal to 7. लेकिन सवाल ये है कि radius कहाँ से लाएं? ठीक है, radius कहाँ से लाएं? We use ratio. That's correct. Why? Because remember, whenever you see frustum, you are dealing with a pair of similar triangles. So this is 7. This is 12.5. Let's drag this towards the left. Oh, ये बेचारा कहाँ रह गया? This is the radius of the small cone. अच्छा, अब since we're using the radius, please don't fall for the trap that you end up using 9.2. 9.2 को divide कर लो, so the radius will be 4.6. Okay. So the height of the larger cone, 12.5, divided by the height of the smaller cone, will be equal to the radius of the larger cone divided by the radius of the smaller cone. This will give us the value of r. So 4.6 into 7 divided by 12.5. So r is equals to 2.576. Please do not round this answer off because it's not the final answer yet. Okay, so I repeat. 12.5, the height of the larger cone, divided by the radius, divided by the height of the smaller cone. Okay, the ratio of their heights will be equal to the ratio of their radii. So 4.6 upon r, that gives us the radius. अब हमारे पास दोनों चीज़ों के ingredients आ गए. Okay, we have the ingredients. Now it's time to put them all together. It's time to mix them up nicely and see whether we get the desired result or not. So volume of the big cone will be 1 upon 3 pi r square h. So 1 upon 3 pi r square. R square is what? R square is the big cone, so that means 4.6 squared times the height, which is 12.5, minus 1 upon 3 pi into r square, which is going to be 2.576, the whole thing squared, into the height of the smaller cone, which is 7. ठीक है, ये सारे ingredients हैं. We've put them together nicely. Let's see what we get. So 1 upon 3 pi. Let your calculator do all the hard work. Okay, no need to. It's practically impossible to work this out mentally, but even if you can, my advice is don't. So 2.576, close the bracket, square it into 7. So we get the following. We get 228.3409, which means the correct answer, correct to 3 significant figures, is 228. ठीक है, इसको double check भी कर लेते हैं. कहाँ हैं वही answers? Yep, 228.3409, which means 228 is the correct answer. ठीक है. So that's it fellas. I hope it's clear. अच्छा, एक specimen paper का question मैं और solve करा देता हूँ. ये और फिर इसके बाद हम end करते हैं. ठीक है. Why are we subtracting volumes? Because this is what's left. ये बचा है ना end में? नहीं, कहाँ गया? हाँ. In the end, this is the shape that's left. It's like you had an entire cone, ठीक है, but you decided to chop off a smaller cone from the larger cone. So what will be the volume left? This will be the volume left. Volume of the big cone minus the volume of the small cone. That's it. चलें, ये एक लास्ट सवाल है. ये करें, लास्ट तो नहीं, इसके बाद एक और कर लेंगे. ओह अच्छा, अब मैं कर लेता हूँ. हाशिर आपका सवाल करता हूँ यार. 4024 winter 25 QP12. Actually, that question better be good, ठीक है? It better not be a disappointing question. ये इसके लिए इतना रो रहे हैं आप? ये तो मैं लास्ट स्ट्रीम में करा चुका हूँ. Let me check. October, November, कहाँ गया? 2025. Last question. Achha, are you talking about this question? इसके बाद last one. Oh, okay. The diagram shows a square base pyramid. X is the center of the square base. Vertex E is vertically above X and EX is 7 centimeter. All right, let's mark that. EX is 7. There we go. And don't forget that it's a square base. The perpendicular height of triangle BEC is 11 centimeter. Work out the length of the base of the pyramid. Give your answer as a third in its simplest form. Okay, length of the base of the pyramid. That basically means the length of the square. अच्छा, अब देखो, ये इतना भी कोई मुश्किल सवाल नहीं है वैसे. ठीक है, थोड़ी सी अगर आप ज़रा विजुअलाइजेशन स्किल्स पे काम कर लेना, काम हो जाएगा. देखो, so basically this is what you're given, ठीक है, and you're told that the perpendicular height of the triangle, ठीक है, perpendicular height of the triangle का मतलब ये वाली length, this length, ठीक है, the perpendicular height of the triangle. All right, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to calculate the length of the base of the pyramid. ठीक है, अब कुछ समझ आ रहा है? Where do you think this is going? If I draw a line from here to here, this will actually be half the length of the square. ठीक है, whatever the length of the square is, this will actually be half of it. Okay, and what does this look like? What does this look like? What kind of a triangle is this looking like? This is a right angle triangle. That's it. This is a right angle triangle. Okay, so I know you're ignoring what's IGCSE, but I haven't come across the IGCSE 2026 February March paper yet, but when I do, I don't think I'm going to solve it on YouTube, but yeah, ठीक है, I will do something about it. ठीक है, YouTube पे solve करूँ ना तो channel पे strike लगा देते हैं, ये मसला है. That's why I stopped solving yearly past papers on my channel. Anyway, so here we are. You can see that this is the height of the pyramid, which is 7. This is half the length of the square, and this is the hypotenuse. ठीक है, हमने इसको 2D में 2D से 3D में turn कर लिया. ठीक है, अब इसको minimize करते हैं, इसको maximize करते हैं, and see what we're dealing with. So we are dealing with a right angle triangle. अच्छा, mensuration का round 2 करें नहीं करें, or you think this is enough? So this is 11. ठीक है, let's draw this triangle over here. This is 7, this is 11, and this इसको हम m बोल देते हैं. ठीक है, so this is x, this is m, and this is e. So xm will be equal to square root of 11 squared minus 7 squared. ठीक है, चलो कर लेंगे इंशाल्लाह, don't worry. So remember, this is paper 1, so no calculator, okay? And the question says give your answer as a surd in its simplest form. So 11 squared is 121, 7 squared is 49. Let's subtract, see what do we get. So let's bring this down by 1. 11 minus 9 is equals to 2. 11 minus 4, what's that equal to? That's equal to 7. I say yeah? Yeah, that's 7. So that means xm is equals to 72. Now this turns into from a mensuration question to a surd question. Okay, so 72 की हम करेंगे prime factorization. ठीक है, a lot of people call this LCM, but this is not LCM, this is prime factorization. So let's divide 72 by 2, that's equal to 36. Let's divide 36 by 2, that's equal to 18. Let's divide 18 by 2, that's equal to 9. Let's divide 9 by 3, that's equal to 3. Let's divide 3 by 3, that's equal to 1. Okay, now square root of 72 can now be written as 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. Okay. अच्छा, अब कुछ ओवर स्मार्ट तो नहीं कहूँगा, कुछ स्मार्ट लोग होंगे, वो कहेंगे कि सर इसको डायरेक्टली 36 times 2 लिख के व्हाई डोंट यू टेक आउट द स्क्वायर रूट ऑफ 32. ठीक है, दैट्स परफेक्टली ऑल राइट, बट इट्स जस्ट दैट आई एम नॉट as smart as you guys are, so I prefer to do it step by step. So we're going to make a pair of 2, we're going to bring it outside. Okay, so we have 1 2 outside. We're going to make a pair of 3, we're going to bring that outside also. So we're going to multiply it by 3. So outside we have a 6, inside we have a 2. But please be careful, what we just worked out is actually half the length of the, inside we have a 2, not a 6. So what we just worked out is actually half the length of a square. So we need to multiply it by 2. So what's that equal to? That's equal to 12 under root 2. And that, fellas, is your answer. Okay. You can find this worksheet in the link in description. There is a link in description where you will find all the worksheets. ठीक है, अच्छा इस worksheet को मैं attach कर देता हूँ. अच्छा मज़े की बात, I did bring this question to solve, but I don't think I did solve it. मैंने सोचा था इसको solve करने का, but I didn't solve it in the last stream. But yeah, thank you Hashir, अच्छा सवाल solve करवाया आपने. Good job. But I hope it's clear. Okay, now. अच्छा, एक इसका फ्रस्टम का क्वेश्चन और करते हैं. कैलकुलेट द वॉल्यूम ऑफ द बोल. You're welcome. Someone has to call police now. Hi sir, I haven't answered anything in stat. My question is like if... But of course you need to do stats also. If you're preparing for the stats exam, then of course you need to study stats. Okay, you have time. So स्टार्ट डूइंग, ठीक है। अब ये नहीं करना कि इस टीचर से एडवाइस ले लूँ, इस टीचर से टिप ले लूँ, सर कोई शॉर्टकट बता दें, कोई ये कर दें, तो डोंट डू दैट, जस्ट स्टार्ट स्टडीइंग, सिंपल एज दैट। For IGCSE P2 practice, do O-level paper 1. Okay, IGCSE students who want to practice P2, because you don't have a lot of papers as per the new syllabus format, as per the new paper format, so practice O-level math paper 1, the syllabus code for which is 4024. ठीक है। अच्छा, आप लोग ये कर रहे हैं सॉल्व या बातें कर रहे हैं? Sir, how to go from an A to distinction level preparation? Beta, just keep solving. ठीक है, just keep solving past papers. Stop asking for these tips. कोई ऐसी जादुई टिप मैं नहीं दे सकता आपको that's going to change your life. ठीक है, just keep putting in the effort, you'll start seeing the results. Really as simple as that. There's no rocket science. How will we do this? बेटा सोचो, दिमाग लड़ाओ. How will you calculate the volume of the bowl? ये क्या बन गया? What do you see now? It's a cone, right? So how will you calculate the volume of the frustum? Calculate the volume of the larger cone, subtract the volume of the smaller cone. ठीक है? Yep, bigger cone minus the smaller cone. That's it. So let us begin. ठीक है? एक काम करते हैं, इसका ज़रा स्क्रीनशॉट लेते हैं. This question is tricky because normally when you have a frustum, the question deliberately shows you the entire cone so that you have an idea. Just for example, यहाँ पे, ठीक है, they've shown you how the whole process of making a frustum. Okay, here also you can see the whole process of making a frustum. ठीक है, whereas here they're like, ये shape है, find the volume, that's it. It's more like an in-your-face question. So yeah, no problem. We've done enough. We've solved enough questions now to know what to do. So let's do that. Okay. So once again, let's first plan and then work our way backwards and see what are the ingredients that we want. So the volume of the bowl will be equal to the volume of the big cone minus the volume, ठीक है, of the small cone. All right, we all can agree on this, I hope. Now, do we have all the necessary ingredients? Let's see. हमारे पास क्या missing है? हमारे पास height missing है. ठीक है? Yeah, of course, बेटा, you can draw the cone yourself. ठीक है? क्या होगा मतलब? पुलिस आ जाएगी क्या? ठीक है? Will they arrest you or something? No, right? So go ahead. Draw the cone. Do whatever you want. Okay. Now, if I take the height of the large cone to be equal to capital H, what will be the height of the small cone? The height of the small cone will be equal to capital H minus 9. ठीक है? The height of the smaller cone will be capital H minus 9. Okay, I repeat. If the height of the big cone is H, the height of the small cone will be H minus 9. ठीक है? Now, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? We're doing this so that we can basically get all the ingredients. ठीक है? हमारे पास किसी भी height नहीं है. So that means before I can calculate the volume, there is one key ingredient which is missing. We first need to get our hands on that, and then we will start putting all the ingredients together. Okay? Now, the height of the larger cone is H. The height of the smaller cone is H minus 9. Okay, so the ratio of the heights, ठीक है, is equal to what? Is equal to the ratio of the radius of the larger cone, which is 8, is equal to the ratio of the radius of the larger cone divided by the ratio of the smaller cone, which is 6. Okay, so I repeat, height of the larger cone divided by the height of the smaller cone equals to radius of the larger cone divided by the radius of the smaller cone. Beta, is it worthwhile to fight over whether this is a bowl or a cup? No, right? So don't waste time over petty stuff. Start solving. Okay, will your life change if this turns out to be a cup and not a bowl? No, right? So 4h minus 36, let's get h. So h will be equal to 4h minus 3h, that's h. h is equals to 36, which means this is the height of the larger cone. And what's the height of the smaller cone? The height of the smaller cone will be 36 minus 9, which is equal to 27. Okay. Okay, now. So we have all the ingredients. Time to put them all together. That's it. So 1 upon 3 into pi into r square. So we're calculating the volume of the larger cone into the height of the larger cone, which is 36, minus 1 upon 3 into pi into 6 square into the height of the larger cone. What's that equal to? That's equal to 27. Okay. Acha, let's put this all together. See what we get. 1 upon 3 pi, bracket open, 8 square, bracket close, 36 minus 1 upon 3 pi, bracket open, 6 squared, bracket open, 27. So here's what we get. We get 444 pi, okay, which is approximately equal to 1394.867, and as per the rule, correct to 3 significant figures, we're going to give our answer. So that's going to become 1390. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's see if that's the correct answer. Yeah, 1390. That's it. Okay. ओके टाइम है एक आध IGCSE का ज़रा मुश्किल सवाल टैप करते हैं, फिर विल स्टॉप. Easy. Do you guys want to do like a really difficult question, like the mother of all difficult questions? करना है, spend करना है. Yeah, okay. अच्छा, just give me a minute. Let me find that question. ठीक है. एक मिनट, हाँ वो क्वेश्चन मैं ज़रा निकाल लूँ. Just some worksheets. कहाँ गया यार? एक सेकेंड. अच्छा, अब ये इतना भी वैसे मुश्किल सवाल हो सकता है आपको लगे, हो सकता है ना लगे. सो here it is. This is 2010. 2010 was when I did my O-levels. ठीक है, तो पहले के लोग ज़रा स्मार्ट होते थे ना, तो उनको डिफ़िकल्ट क्वेश्चन से टेस्ट करते थे. Although this is not my exact paper, this is paper 2 variant 1. I gave paper 2 variant 2. but you guys get the point, right? Okay, so let's see. This is, I repeat, May June 2010, paper 2, variant 1. Okay. So this question says the diagram 1 shows a vessel in the shape of a prism. All right. The cross section OAB is a sector of a circle of radius 8 centimeter and AOB equals to 90 degrees. I say I don't think it's a good idea to end on this, but let's do it anyway. Calculate the perimeter of the sector OAB. All right, so starts easy. अच्छा अब यहाँ पे earlier you didn't have space to solve the question. Okay, you had to do it on a separate piece of paper. So kind of annoying though, but let's do it. Okay, so the first part is that we are supposed to calculate the perimeter of the sector OAB. Okay, so I'll break it down. I'll keep the questions separate and then do it. So here it is. अच्छा, perimeter of sector निकालना तो आसान है. So the perimeter of sector will be R plus the arc length, which is theta upon 360 into 2 pi r. So that means the perimeter is equals to 8 plus theta upon 360, which means 9 upon 360 into 2 into pi into 8. Okay, so let's work this out. Let's see what do we get. So we get 8 plus 90 over 360 into 2 into pi into 8. So that's equal to 28.57. So the perimeter is equals to 28.566, okay, which correct to 3 significant figures will be 28.6 centimeter. ठीक हो गया? That's the answer to part A. Part 2. The vessel stands on a horizontal table contains 800 centimeter cube of water shown shaded in the depth of the vessel. Shown shaded in the diagram. Calculate the depth of water in the vessel. Achha, what shape is this? It is basically a prism. Okay. Achha, some would argue that this is not a prism, but at least let's take the examiner's word for it. And this is a prism. Okay. How do you calculate the volume of prism? The volume of actually uniform solid. This prism nahi hai, but this is actually a uniform solid. Volume of prism is basically equal to area of cross section. Why? Because the official definition of a prism is that its cross section should be a polygon. This is not a polygon. Area of cross section multiplied by the length. Okay, so we're given the volume, which is 800. And since this is a prism with a cross section OAB, which is sector of a circle, so that means we can very easily calculate the area of cross section by doing 90 upon, ठीक है, इस shape को अपने सामने रखो, 90 upon 360 multiplied by pi into 8 squared, or you can also do it as a quarter of a circle, that also works, multiplied by the length, which is basically the depth of water in the vessel. We don't know what that is, so let's call that D. This is equal to the volume of water, which is equal to 800. Okay? So that means D will be equal to 800 divided by, let's see, what is this equal to? 90 divided by 360 into 64 with pi, so that's 16 pi. So that means the depth is equal to 800 divided by answer, that's equal to 15.91, which means 15.9 is good enough. ठीक है, अच्छा अभी आसान है ये question, ठीक है, हो सकता है आगे भी आप लोगों को आसान लगे. Okay, I hope I'm wrong and you guys tell me that sir this is easy. Okay, but let's see. Now the fun part starts. Okay, now the vessel is now placed so that its curved surface area is in contact with the horizontal table as shown. ठीक है, अब आपने क्या किया, आपने इसको सीधा के बजाय लिटा के रख दिया. ठीक है, that's it. diagram 2 shows the cross section of the vessel with the shaded section representing the water P as the midpoint of the arc AB and is in contact with the table. Q is the point on the water surface MN which is vertically above P. Okay, so basically now you get a zoomed in version, okay, of this cross section. Okay, अच्छा आपने first this was vertical, now you've put it horizontally, okay, and this is what you're now looking at. Okay, अच्छा. Then the question says, it is given that OQ equals to x centimeters. अच्छा इसको और से पढ़ लो. P is the midpoint of the arc, so P is the midpoint, and also because this is an isosceles triangle, okay, what will happen as a result is that these two lengths will be equal. Okay, so these two lengths will be equal. ठीक है. अच्छा, and Q is the point on the water surface MN which is vertically above P. So this is basically a vertical line. All right. Write down an expression for x in terms of Mn. So we now need to write down an expression for x in terms of Mn. Acha, let's first focus on this triangle. Can we do that? Let's first focus on this triangle. Acha. Ab this is 90 degrees, correct? What do we have here? We have here a equilateral, a right isosceles triangle. Okay, so that means what we have over here is an isosceles triangle. अच्छा क्यों है isosceles triangle मैं बता देता हूँ. So basically what happens when you drop a vertical line and you have a isosceles triangle? When you drop a vertical line or a perpendicular line, what happens is this angle becomes 45. If this angle is 45, this angle will also be 45. ठीक है? So मैं आप लोगों को ये separately बना के दिखाता हूँ कि actually हो क्या रहा है. So what we're looking at is this. Okay, so I'm drawing the triangle OMN separately. Here's O, here's M, here's N. Okay, and this is 90 degrees, not drawn to scale. So just take my word for it. This is a vertical line. Now, what happens as a result is that this becomes 45 degrees and this also becomes 45 degrees. Why? Because we have... Achha, how do I know that it's an isosceles triangle? Ye bhi dekh lo. How do I know it's an isosceles triangle? मैं आपको बताता हूँ. This is 90 degrees. This is 90 degrees. Why? Because this is a vertical line that you have dropped. Okay. So let me adjust it a little so it starts to look like an isosceles triangle as well. Now. So if you have a triangle which has one angle 90, one angle 45, so what's the other angle going to be? This angle will also be equal to 45 degrees. अच्छा ये length हमें given है x. Okay, this length is x. So if this length is x and we have ourselves an isosceles triangle, okay, this length is x and we have ourselves, क्या scene है? If this length is x and we have ourselves an isosceles triangle, तो ये length भी क्या होगी? ये length भी x होगी. Okay, so if this is x, this will also be equal to x because we have an isosceles triangle. So if this is x, what do you think about mn? Sorry, mn will also be equal to x. Okay, so this is just a 1 mark question. That means you're not supposed to show any working, but you're supposed to understand it yourself, obviously. Okay, so one last time, pay attention. This is 90 degrees. We drop a vertical line. And since it's an isosceles, what happens as a result is that this becomes 45 degrees. And since this is a vertical line, it will make a 90-degree angle. If it makes a 90-degree angle and this is 45, this angle will also be 45. That means now we know for sure that we're looking at an isosceles triangle. And if this length is x, the length opposite of this 45-degree angle, that means the length opposite of the other 45-degree angle will also be isosceles. Okay? Which means we've worked out half of mn. So that means this will be 2x. How did I get the isosceles triangle? Dekho. Read the question. This is now on a horizontal table, which means this is a horizontal line. Okay, mn is a horizontal line. Okay, now if you read the question up further, you can see that Q is the point on the water surface mn, which is vertically above P. That means this is a vertical line. So if you have a horizontal line and a vertical line, that means this angle is 90. Okay, and because you have dropped a vertical line from the center, that means this angle will be 45 degrees. And if this angle is 45 degrees, that means this angle will also be 45 degrees. ठीक हो गया? Okay, now show that the shaded area in diagram 3 is 16 pi minus x square. Okay, how will I calculate the shaded area in diagram 3? Here's what we're going to do. The shaded area in diagram 3 will be equal to this. It will be equal to the area of the sector minus the area of this triangle. Okay, area of the sector minus the area of the triangle here. Okay, so that's how we will get the shaded area. So let's work it out. Shaded area equals area of sector minus the area of this triangle. Which triangle? OMN. So let's calculate the area of sector. Area of sector will be 90 upon 360 multiplied by pi times 8 squared minus the area of triangle. Now what will be the area of triangle? Notice that we just worked out that mn is equals to 2x, so that means its base is 2x and its height is x. So half into 2x into x. So 2 and 2 cancels. We know that this is 16 pi from the previous part minus x squared. This is what we had to show. And we have done just that. Okay? These are O-level questions, guys. This is an O-level question. So last part. Last part is the vessel still contains 800 centimeter cube of water. Given that the length of the vessel is 20 centimeter, find the value of x. Okay. अब कौन बताएगा ये वाला part कैसे करेंगे? The vessel still contains the same amount of water. Okay, and you're given the length, which is 20. How will I now calculate the वैल्यू ऑफ एक्स? कौन सी ऐसी चीज़ है जो सेम रहेगी? ऐसी कौन सी चीज़ है जो इस पूरे प्रोसेस में सेम रही होगी? What is that? The volume. Good job. The volume would have stayed the same. Okay, so throughout this process, the one thing that hasn't changed is the volume. Okay, and what shape is this? If you just look at the shaded, if you just look at the shape that the water is making, that is also a prism. Okay, or a uniform solid. So now, once again, we're going to go back to the volume of prism / uniform solid, same thing. Okay, at least with reference to this question. That is equal to area of cross section multiplied by the length. Now, area of cross section is actually the shaded area. Okay, which the question just made us work that out. Length is given to us as 20. Okay, and the volume is also the same as before. That means it's 800. Okay, it's same as before, which means it's 800. Okay. Now, we can't do volume of total ratio, volume of shaded. No, because these are not similar solids. Okay, it's not like you have one smaller prism and one bigger prism. No, these are not similar solids. Okay, so 800 is equals to 16 pi minus x square. Okay, so this is the volume, or this is the area of shaded region. Yep, that's correct. Multiplied by 20. Which means 16 pi minus x square is equals to 800 upon 20. What is that equal to? 800 divided by 20, that's equal to 40. Okay, which means x square, which means 16 pi minus 40 is equals to x square, which means x is equals to square root of 16 pi minus 40. Okay, so 16 pi minus 40, what's that equal to? That gives us the value of x, which is 3.2039, which correct to three significant figures will be equal to 3.20. ठीक है, मजा आया? This is how it works. This is how you calculate. This is how you solve this question. अच्छा, एक और बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग सवाल है जो कि हम इंशाल्लाह नेक्स्ट स्ट्रीम में करेंगे. Yeah. we'll do that in the next stream. Yeah, this is P2. This is P2. सर ये इस साल तो नहीं आया बेटा, मुझे क्या पता आएगा नहीं आएगा. ठीक है, well if you found this challenging, that's great. If you didn't, that's even better actually. If you didn't think this question was challenging, then that's actually even better. ठीक है, चलें. So I'm gonna stop here. We will inshallah pick this up in the next class. I will do another round of this. Okay, we'll have another round of mensuration. We'll do some even harder questions. बेटा एड मैथ्स हम बिल्कुल करेंगे, डोंट वरी अबाउट इट. ठीक है, एड मैथ्स को मैंने ज़रा बैक बर्नर पर रखा हुआ है बिकॉज एड मैथ्स के पेपर में बहुत टाइम है. दैट इज़ वाई. ठीक है, सो कीप प्रैक्टिसिंग गाइस, keep solving past papers, and I'll see you guys inshallah in the next stream. So take care fellas. Allah Hafiz.